All right, now I'm gonna teach you how to tape a saber. And again, the most important thing you do first is to take off the original tape on your equipment. Now, with sabers, because it is metal, it'll get sticky, especially during marching band because you're out in the heat. So what you can do is you can use like a Goo Gone, or sometimes I use Dawn dish soap if it's not that bad. But you have to make sure that your saber isn't sticky. All right, now that my saber is completely untaped, what we're gonna do is we're gonna start with the hilt. And you're gonna take your black electrical tape. And I like to start on the inside closest to the blade and work my way out. I just find it easier. What I do is I'll take longer sections of tape, break it off, and then wrap it like that. It is a little tedious though, I do have to say. And the most important thing about this is that you pull it really tight, and with the little bumps, you have to be really careful that you're not making your saber all bumpy, because it's just annoying to use. If you also, sometimes it's easier to cut the electrical tape with scissors instead of just breaking it, because it kind of like coils at the end, which makes it weird to hold. It's easier to work in bigger sections of tape because when you're spinning, because you hold it a lot, it's easier for it to like come off. So make sure to work in bigger sections. Then what you're gonna do is you're gonna take smaller sections and kind of do them like so around the edge of the hilt. You want to make sure to cover there's a screw right here, and this tightens the blade part to the hilt part. And if it gets stripped, then your saber is broken and you cannot tighten it anymore. And once it breaks, it breaks. So I'm making sure, I don't care where the tape at the top ends up, because we're gonna end up redoing it anyways. Make sure you don't go up onto the basket. We don't tape the basket. Some guards do, just not us. Just staying on the hilt part. Again, pulling really tight. Making sure you get all the silver, because you don't want... The reason we put tape on our equipment is so that it doesn't break. Or on our weapons, so it doesn't break. So I'm making sure to do that. I'm also putting a piece going this way so that we get that little corner too that we didn't get earlier. And now once you've done that, you see how like this is kind of crusty? What I'm going to do is I'm going to tape back over it, because I like the end of my saber to be a little bit heavier. I feel like it's more, not heavy, but I feel like it's easier to toss when it has a little bit of weight onto it. So I'm going to go back and tape over the places we just taped. Not all the way down. That's a little extreme. But just making sure it's all nice and smooth, and so that you will have a good saber hilt. So this is what it looks like all said and done. Now I'm going to move on to the blade. So with the blade, you get your white electrical tape. Sometimes we use different colors, but typically most guards use white. And what you're going to do, what I do, is I tape one strip. Well, I take it in chunks, but one piece this way and then one piece on the other side, and then fold them over at the bottom. So again, like what I said with the hilt, it's easy. It won't come off as easily if you become more difficult to tape your hilt in multiple strips, but you only put about half of the tape on the blade. I put a little bit more. And what I'm doing, I can't really show you, but what I'm doing is I'll put it on my knees. I hold the tape up and then I press it with my other finger, making sure there's no bubbles. And kind of going at an even height. So if you see, I didn't fully do my saber, I just did one part. And then you're gonna take it and fold it over, making sure there's very little bumps. Then one side of your saber is taped. Now you've got to tape the other side. On the end part, I'm going to do the same thing again. Taking our So now what we're gonna do is we're gonna tape the tip. So it is important to get a good amount of tape on the tip of the saber, because if that hits you, oh, it hurts. It hurts so bad. So what I like to do is I take a couple little strips and put it, let me move this real quick. And I put it over the top, folding over the tip of the saber. And I do about 2 or 3 strips of that. Now, it is not necessary to have like 15 million strips. Like, that is a little excessive. And I like it when it kind of crinkles up, so that adds a little bit of depth to it. And then what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna wrap around, like how we did on the flag. Not all guards do this, but this is what we like to do. We add a tape on the saber, on the blade, where you're going to toss. So when you toss, you did push out. Where your right hand is, we add a little piece of tape. Now, if you're new, if you've never spun saber before, you're gonna wanna put your saber your piece of tape a little more up on the blade, because when you catch up more. So that's just what we do. And you got to make sure wherever your piece of your cheater tape, wherever you put it is where you're going to toss from, because Cindy doesn't like it when your tape isn't where you toss from. So make sure to do that. And I just put like 2 or 3 loops around it, just so that I have a good reference guide on my saber. And then what we also do, you add a little wrap at where the blade and the hilt connect. And this is where we put our initials. So if you do make saber line, you want to put your initials there so that we know that the saber's yours. So that is how you tape a saber.